Hey guys, Masati here. Hope all you are doing wonderful. It's a great opportunity here. Actually, this reality in this time and space, it's a great opportunity because there's so many changes coming. Oh, hey guys, you guys are leaving? All right. These are my daughters here. Come on in. They would just want to say hi. No, you're not seeing duplicate. They're twins. All right, guys, go have fun. Have a good time, and we'll do the show. Bye. All right, they just wanted to make an appearance. I love them. Anyway, I've got 6 of them, by the way. So maybe in the future we'll do parenting because everybody that sees my kids, they go, "Wow, they're so well, they're so unreal." But that's the way most kids are. Talking about that. Talking about that, this is Moss on Sunday. We'll just start over. This is Moss on Sunday with Masati. Welcome. We're going to be talking on, say, unconditional self-worth. Okay, and I'm here in San Diego, and we did a lot of things here, private sessions, private groups, things like that. But the biggest thing that we did today. Not today, a couple days ago, was we went to an orphanage, and it was quite amazing. And I love kids, love to transform kids, love to shift kids, especially kids, that are in trouble, and the suicide rate and all that just elevated so high. And there's reasons for that. There's XI reasons, and XI reasons are like top level reasons or first principle, say, reasons on why shit happens the way they do. And that's what the show is about, Moss on Sunday, is why stuff happens the way they do, not lower level reasons. Because if you've got exceptions to your rule on why stuff happens, then you need to go higher and higher and higher. So till you reach, say, the XI level, or you become exponentially intelligent. And then you get to go, oh, there are no other exceptions to the rule. So that's the main cause, or that's the original cause of the issue. Thanks for the, yeah, they are beautiful daughters. Thank you so much. And I was thinking about that because a lot of times, you go to an orphanage, right? And you see these kids and they're like downtrodden, they're torn apart, they're this and that. And these kids, in the specific orphanage, I'm not talking about all orphanages. And how many of you out there actually was an orphan, or you were orphaned, or you were adopted at some level? But my point is that, these kids were brilliant. They were really, really fantastic. And, they were playing around. We were having a water balloon fight with them and all that. It was really, really fantastic, from, gosh, a 5-month-old to, like teenagers and so on like that. Really fantastic kids. So, what was the difference there? Because a lot of people, and here's the deal, a lot of individuals think that, they're an orphanage, they're not wanted, they've got all these patterns that I help with. Basically, I was an orphan, this happened to me, and my mom left me, and they have some hurt feelings or some distorted feelings which cause self-worth issues, right? But these kids, they had really nice, they were clean, they were brighter than most of the kids I work with or I see here in the US, which is really sad to say, right? Those kids, they were more they were better taken care of than a lot of the kids that I see, in the malls or, just walking around here in the US. I'm not saying Mexico is better. I'm just saying that specific orphanage, the way they took care of their kids and so on, was just amazing. And you all know, or maybe you don't, those individuals who are new, welcome to the Moss on Sunday show. But those, I have abilities. I can scan you. I can see exactly what we're about or what programs that we're running. I don't need to know your name or anything. In fact, we'll demonstrate that with two live participants after the talk here, just to show you. Not to prove anything to you, because I know it works. It doesn't matter. It's not about a proof. It's just that possibilities are there for you. And once you see it, it's like, wow, those possibilities are there for you as well. And that's what this is about. That's what XI is about, helping you understand your possibilities to be that top level human, or live from a first principle, say, standard of humanity or human. Anyway, these kids, they were really fantastic. They all got along. They knew each other really well, from the oldest to the youngest. Everybody, took care of each other. They were one big happy family, really. And it is just amazing. So I give credit to that orphanage, that takes care of those kids. The one thing that I did notice, though, because I do see programs, there's an app. Everything has a frequency. Okay. And if you're new, again, you might go, well, what is this guy talking about? Just, at a deeper level. Okay. Just like, say, for example, and I know I might be jumping around, but I need to fill in a lot of spaces because I feel a lot of new people coming in. Everything has, and even the old people, the XRs here, we need to understand this at a deeper level, that it's not your psychology or anything like that, that say differentiates how happy of a life you have. It literally is the dimension in space and time that you say render, you create yourself in. So these dimensions of space and time, within them, they have filters. Okay. And these filters create, say, the experience, or these filters create how you see the experience that you're in. Okay. So for example, just to give you an example, say that, you got abused as a child. There's a filter. Boom. Just imagine you have an abuse lens right in front of you, and no matter what you do, no matter what you experience from that point on, unless you resolve it, and most individuals resolve it from here psychologically, they don't resolve it from the filter level. And I'll even draw it out for you. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept, and usually simple concepts are they're very detailed, because, again, they're first principle, right? They're so simple, they're very technologically advanced. That's why they're so simple. Okay. And I'll explain that for you as well. But these kids, the way their filters are the parent filter. We have a filter on how we render or how we get stuff from our parents, right? Genetically. And whether your parents are there or not matters, obviously. So in the parent filter of all the kids that I saw there, they were missing this little piece, this little component, because they didn't have any parents. So that component wasn't full for them or complete for them, especially for the teenagers. And then, later on, although they might have had, say, a perfect, say, standard of living and all that, that component might be destructive later on, even if the orphanage was, say, perfect. So what I was doing at the orphanage was, say, fulfilling that piece of the parent filter for them, so they can grow up and to be strong, say, confident young adults. Hopefully that made sense for you all, right? In other cases, since we're talking about self-worth, and we'll just jump into the self-worth aspect of it, is that, again, there's lots of reasons on why people don't, say, experience, or why they think that, they have no self-worth. right? So I'm going to define, say, self-worth in in society's definition, and why society's definition of self-worth is demoralizing, because the more self-worth you have in society's definition, the more demoralizing it gets for you. Okay, and I'll explain that, because it's basically, say, the opposite of what you would think, right? So what I'm saying here, okay, right, and again, I'm not against any religions or faiths or any concepts or anything like that, but I'm just giving you the lowdown so we understand it, and why there's so many individuals who have no self-worth, or why those individuals who, say, strive to have self-worth have no self-worth. Okay, they actually get worse. And again, and this is why society's standards of defining self-worth is demoralizing for you. So what's the better way? And I'll give you an example of a better version, or what the true definition, or again, what the first principle definition of self-worth is. So one, we'll cover in this why society's definition of self-worth is demoralizing. Two, why those who try to achieve self-worth through, say, motivation, through affirmations, through hypnosis, and other standard methods of success, or spirituality, actually end up, say, with less self-worth. Right? Why that happens? How many of you tried that? Right? You try to prove yourself. You try to become successful and to prove. And I'll give you example after example. Those individuals, and then they come to me and they go, Moss, my self-worth is not there. It's even worse than, when I was successful before, especially for women. So why would that be? Right? So these are the answers, or these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Most people don't. Most people just keep striving to go, well, I gotta put, you gotta be motivated more, or you gotta do this more, and then you'll have self-worth. You gotta help more people. That's why, go jump on your religion more, and then you'll create more self-worth. And then where are you? Where are you at the end of the day? Take a deep breath in, and we'll make this an experiential talk for you, where real self-worth comes in. Okay. Now, the problem with definitions, and that's the problem with society, by the way, is that we've redefined pretty much everything to an ill standard, where it doesn't really help us. It really doesn't benefit us. It's not what we're doing. It's not how we're doing it or anything like that. It's how we're defining what I would say are filters on how we see certain things. Like last week, I talked about the first principle definition of honor, and many of you woke up, it's like, oh my God, that's so true, right? Because honor is a good thing to have, but then why are most people, say, dishonored by being honorable? Why is self-worth so destructive or so demoralizing? Right? You have no self-worth the more you seek it. Why does that happen? Okay. There's lots of reasons why. I'm just going to give you the basics. There's higher level science behind XI, call it XI physics, or exponential intelligence physics, that I go into the deeper layers. You can look at it at the website, masajati.com. On the Brilliant Mind series, the lecture series, basically, we go into the science on, say, levels or layers of frequencies. So here we go. So why society's definition of self-worth is demoralizing. So let me give you, and you guys can say this as well, define what self-worth is to you, right? Most people in today's society, self-worth in today's society is how much input you have in in society. Simple as that, right? How much are you giving in, or how much are you sharing in society to, say, uplift society? What does uplift mean? I mean, I could do a talk on uplifting society, right? You're putting in your hard work. You're putting in your labor, your mind, or an idea. How much are you sharing? How much are you putting into society? And that's what basically self-worth is, right? And then what happens is that over time, it wasn't about It wasn't about, and you know, just going back, I'll give you a story, but let me just finish this thought. Over time, what's happened, basically, that's translated into the more money you make, the more self-worth you have in society, because the more input, right, the more feedback you're giving, the more help that you're giving, and that's what it's turned into in today's society. The more money you have, the more self-worth you have. But in today's society, especially here, this in this time in history, you know, real value is, say, showing through. Right, real value is showing through, and many people are seeing it's like shit. You know, that's not the case. That is just not the case. The more money I have, in fact, I feel less self-worth. So why is that? And that's why there's a lot of high-level individuals, you know, CEO level types, you know, multi-millionaire, billionaire type. They're coming to me and going, Mas, you know what? You know, I've got all the money I could, you know, I could have, do anything, and I still feel like shitty inside. Why is that? It didn't work, right? Because again, it's not you, it's the definitions that you subscribe to is the problem. So that's why we need to, say, redefine, and then that's what I do for the high level individuals. And by the way, it's not just about money. Most people go, well, self-worth, there's two camps, obviously. Okay. And that's the other problem. So I'll give you the three issues. The second problem is that, second problem is like, well, if I become really spiritual, you know, and by defining spiritual, or if I define my religion really well, if you know, if I follow my religion really well, I'll have more self-worth, right? And it works and it doesn't. But again, for most people, it should be consistent, right? It should be consistent, right? We should have duplicatable, say, experiences. When we try X, Y should happen, just like gravity, just like electromagnetism, just like all the other physics of this world that dictate this world, right? There's no like exceptions to the rule. But religions, and again, I'm not saying they don't work, but again, they're defined. So if I did X, like if I prayed 5 times a day, you know, in the Muslim culture, if I went to church on Sundays in Christianity or whatever, you know, I did, or if I helped enough people, I'll have more self-worth. This is where philanthropy comes in. This is where people, and this is the result of why many people or many individuals, and I'll give you a horror story on philanthropy. Not that philanthropy is bad, but I'm just saying how it's, say, ill-defined, or the route goes really dark. Okay. What happens is that over time, and again, so on the spiritual side, just let me finish that thought up. On the spiritual, if I did X, then I'll have self-worth. And then those types of people come to me, you know, gurus and so on. They come to me and they go, Mas, you know, I did all this work, but, you know, I still feel really empty inside. I have no self-worth. So like what's going on here, right? Again, it's the filter that you run. It's where you place that filter that you run. And I'll explain that. In fact, I'll draw it out for you on this. This is where, for example, horror story of self-worth. Take a deep breath in, just notice your chest, okay? And then we'll go through a little exercise for you. This is where, you know, wealthy individuals, really not super nice people, and, you know, very nice people, individuals, they become really wealthy, right? They start to feel that their worthiness is not there anymore, right? Or they start to see a division, right? It's like, why am I wealthy and I should be happy, and those people aren't? And then they divide in that way. Either way, they either feel sorry for those individuals who aren't as successful or have money, or they look down on those individuals. Either way, they start to becoming philanthropic. Like, I'm going to help all these millions of people. Well, mostly the reason why they do that is because they have low self-worth, or they think that they're going to perpetuate those individuals, but it really doesn't work out that way. Again, it decreases their value. The ones that, and again, I'm not saying philanthropy is bad, but I'm just saying what happens at a deeper level is that when individuals help out in that way, okay, and I'll show you the right way, because it's a huge difference. When individuals help out in that way, you create more of a divide. Hence the divide that you see, the divide of, say, wealth and no wealth, right? Wealth and poverty, right? There's a bigger and bigger divide, although both sides have no self-worth. Simple as that. Why does that happen, right? So then we help more and more. Well, we need a church group, we need a missionary group, we need this and that. And then again, what happens is that, hey, I'm better, I have more self-worth. Look, because I'm defined by money and I can help you. So that alone, or that in itself, if you really think about it, again, destroys the fabric of humanity, or destroys the fabric of the human species. Okay, because now you're basing yourself, or you're basing your self-worth on, say, physical possession here. That's the problem. Okay, so that's one aspect of, say, the problem of self-worth. The other aspect is, more, maybe it'll hit closer to you, it'll get closer to home for you. Take a breath in again. Notice your childhood. Just notice your childhood, and notice where you got your self-worth patterns, right? Say that you didn't help around the house, and then your mom says, or your dad says, you're no good, right? Say that back in the day, somebody's farm burned down, or somebody needed help, and all these neighbors came in and helped, and then one neighbor didn't, and then that neighbor was cast out. Again, those patterns of self-worth started to show up or creep into, say, society. So the value mechanism, or the definition of self-worth, was based on how much help you can, say, put in, right? How much you're worthy. The other aspects, as I scan all of you in this group, whether you're listening to this live, or a lot of you listen to it as a recording, which is fine. The frequencies are the same. Take a breath in and just notice your chest. Notice your chest. Notice your chest plate. So your torso on up, and your neck down. So from your neck down, and then your, like, the ribs, the bottom of your ribs up. Notice that area. That's where you say your self-worth identity really, say, protrudes in frequency level. Okay. Ego, by the way, as a side note, people who are egotistical and have no self-worth, for those who can, say, see frequencies or experience frequencies, their ego comes from their head. So it's from the head up. They push their self-worth on you through ego. So the XI students, the advanced students, notice those frequencies, right? Again, low self-worth here, and then high level head stuff pushing in to go and look, I am this. And these are the people who always, you talk to them and it's like, oh yeah, I talked to so-and-so, somebody that's famous. Oh, I made $1 million. I did this, I did this, I did this. I have this, I have that. So those are, again, egotistical type, self-worth type people. Again, low self-worth. Take a deep breath in. So notice where you're at. Some people who have been sexually abused, for example, there's emptiness in your groin area, right? Because again, you've been devalued in that nature. So how do you heal all that, right? Your self-worth, or your parents, as say you got sexually abused, and I bring this up because there's about a quarter of you at some level who have been, say, sexually or physically or basically demoralized as humans when you were young. A quarter of you, or you were demoralized like that. So there is no self-worth. Okay? If that makes sense for you. And again, raise your hands if that's you. So we'll work on you as a group as well. So take a breath in again. So again, those patterns you have a filter for, and let me explain where and how we, say, reclaim our self-worth. Okay, so I'm kind of new using this whiteboard on Zoom here, so just please bear with me here. All right, so you guys can all see that. So this, and I'll make it very simple for you. You are here. Okay, this is you. Okay, the circle is you. Okay, how you see yourself, oops, just give me 1 second here. Okay. Yeah. So this is you. Got it? This is you. What happens is that, and this is the definition of how society, say, distorted the definition of self-worth. So I'm putting it back to the first principle on how your cells see self-worth, how, say, nature would see self-worth, how God would see self-worth. Okay. And again, by God, however you define God. Okay, it's all the same, just different labels or just different practices. Okay, so what happens is this is you. Okay, and then you have filters. Okay, you have these filters. So these filters run in you. Okay, so this is the hidden you. This is the you that you think you are at a deep level. This is the abused you and so on like that. So this is an experience of, say, you got shortchanged, you got abused, you got demoralized. So your self-worth went down. So there's another version of you that you send out here. And we'll use a triangle. So this is another version of you here. So what happens for you is that through these filters, okay, through these filters, this circle, this perfection of who you are as a child, through the experiences that you've had. And just note that there are a ton of experiences that we have that say devalue us, right? And it's not just, the experiences that you have, it's the genetic makeup that you, say, got just inherited right off the bat. Right. It's what's been, you've been incubating in your mother's belly for 9 months. You're receiving her environment on how she sees herself, which is a huge factor as well. So you, the purity of you, circle right here, mother's experiences, your experiences. So this is you, and then, say that you got shot down on a date, right? Or somebody said that you're ugly as a kid, or, you're dumb and all this stuff. Again, all these patterns, right, show through. And then you value yourself at this level. You value yourself. Let's see. You value yourself. You value yourself here. You value. Let's see. You value yourself through the set of experiences. I can do that. So this would be your self. We'll just go SW. How's that? So you value yourself through filters of this nature. Okay, if that makes sense to you, right? Through your experiences, through what society thinks of what self-worth is and so on like that. This is the problem, not just with self-worth, but with honor and everything like that. Okay, so that's the problem. It changes over time. Self-worth changes. Society's definition of self-worth changes. For example, back in the day, okay, self-worth was defined that and this is how it changes. Self-worth was defined like back in the day, if you were fat, if you were overweight, okay, if you were overweight, it meant that you had more money and you could provide for yourself, and you were overweight, and that gave you more self-worth, right? Again, very fickle. That makes sense, right? It's very, very, very fickle. And nowadays, right, if you're overweight, then you have low self-worth. So what gives? I mean, how does humanity, or how does the genetics of humanity, of the species, say, handle that? Because you're all over the board. It's like dating somebody that's literally all over. It's like one day you don't know what you're going to wake up with, right? One day they could be like X, one day they could be like Y. The human species is like that as well, right? One day it's defined this way, one day it's defined this way. For women, for example, back in the day, it was, big breasts. It was, more self-worth, flat chested, no self-worth. Then it turned into, back in the 80s, I think it was, again, flat chested, right? Was the in thing. And then I don't know what it is nowadays, but again, it's based on, say, your physique and so on, like that, self-worth and so on. All right. So that's the problem. That's the problem. The problem again is that this here, pointers drop. Yeah. So this here, again, hopefully you can see, the self-worth is defined, again, by, are there pointers here? Yeah. Um, again, self-worth is defined, again, through this experience here, right? Through all these experiences. This is the problem. This is a huge problem because, again, it fluctuates. And then we don't know from generation to generation. We don't know what it means. What one value, say your grandparents' value of self-worth, that was defined on how, if you could provide food on the table, right? And that was the key. You're surviving, right? Today, it's easy to provide food on the table. So that it doesn't work out well. So the problem is that self-worth actually in nature's or in your original form is a filter. So this here, the circle, the original you is human. Okay. That's defined as a human filter. Okay. And again, yes, you have a filter that says you're human. Within the human filter, you have all these layers, all these definitions, love, honor, self-worth, and all those things that we experience here. So what happens though, in reality, the way your frequencies are created or the way you render yourself in space and time, like love, honor, and so on, like that, are actually here. Your original form of self-worth, your original form of honor, or love and so on, is defined before the human filter. So again, this, in your original form, your self-worth comes here, okay? Before you identify yourself as human. So you have your, your infinite self. You have your infinite self projecting this layer, right? Your infinite self, again, is at this level and it's projecting through. Okay. You think you start here at this circle and then you project through. The problem is you don't. You're an infinite being. You're a limitless being. Whether you're atheist or you believe in, a higher power, that there are, say, that you have infinite possibilities or there's a grander version of you. However you label it. Some people call it your spirit. Some people call it a higher self. Some people call it, well, I have limitless potential, if you're atheist or a scientist and all that, right? We're starting to see, it doesn't really matter how you label it. I don't care. It's just that, again, there's a grander version of you that you can, say, put yourself through or visualize yourself through. So most people see their self-worth, again, from the circle here, and you're not. And then you project these filters depending on your experiences here, okay? We've forgotten about what's happened here. So this is where real self-worth comes in, or the first definition of, so first definition of self-worth. So the first definition of self-worth is, again, forgive me guys for, there you go. How do I move this? Anyway. There we go. So, well, you see hopefully you can see the pointer, but the first definition of self-worth, okay, actually starts here, okay? And then your human filter starts here. So as a human, you're already defined as being worthy outside of your, say, what you can have or what you can share with society. You already know that you're of worthiness because you're here in physical form. Okay. You're experiencing, you're reflecting back, going, wow, I'm worthy enough because I'm here. Okay. if you have that definition, your experiences of what happens to you here, say child abuse or whatever type of abuse, or bankruptcy, or all those things, these things, yes, you go through bankruptcy, you go through a rape, or you go through whatever that you go through. But since your value mechanism is based behind those experiences, okay, will help you get stronger and better. I'm not saying you need those experiences to get stronger and better, but there obviously is something in your system that, say, attracted that. The reason why you attracted those experiences in the first place, again, is because your self-worth filter was based here. Through genetics, the self-worth filter moved from here to here. That's the problem. Okay, so take a deep breath in. What we need to do in today's society to really, say, fix the problems of today's society is redefine all these ill definitions and redefine self-worth to its original form, or replace it. It's not psychology or anything. It's how you render yourself here in this reality. So you replace the self-worth pattern here where it should be. Okay. And then what happens is that, say that something has happened to you, like back in the day. So take a deep breath in, and we'll just erase all that for you. And I know it sounds strange. Take a breath in. So notice your self-worth pattern. Notice your self-worth pattern now that you understand it. Notice that you see you, and then the self-worth pattern in front of you, a filter. That makes sense to you. Oh, you can't see the pointer. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right. But you saw the movement, right? Okay. So let's go through. Take a deep breath in. Take another deep breath in. So notice you, and then notice your self-worth patterns, or how you see your self-worth patterns. Okay. So notice how that works. Notice that you see you, and then the self-worthiness here in front. Does that make sense? And then you project who you are to others, and that's what they see. And then that's how they value you, by the way. Because what you're doing is, again, what you're doing is well, let's just take a deep breath in. I won't get into that aspect. It gets more confusing for you. So let's notice your chest. Notice however you value yourself. Okay, let's bring that out. And notice it could be, for a lot of you, the most menial things. It wasn't a big event. It was, say, a series of small events that you went through, right? That accumulated into, say, a big event for you. So notice how that works. And then a big event happened, and then it impacted you. Does that make sense for a lot of you? Right? A series of small events, and then a big impactful event that you, say, held on to, or you identified, or you related to, going, that's the reason why I have no self-worth. But nobody looks at the patterns, or again, the series of small events. Take a deep breath in. So let's redefine, again, let's replace the definition or the filter, because it's not psychology. It's just a movement of how you render yourself in space and time. If you don't understand that, don't worry. You do at a deeper level. Breath in again. So if you start to understand, and let's just replace that for you. And then notice how you feel now, by the way. Nothing in your experience changed, right? But comment in on how you feel about yourself. Literally, comment in on how you feel about yourself. Do you feel different? Do you see yourself from a higher level of self? Okay, right? And then you see yourself and you go, wow, back in the day, I was abused. That wasn't right. Let's fix that. And then this is where real feeling or real healing happens for you. Because you see yourself again, not from um, not from not from again a human perspective, but a limitless self perspective. I'm just saying jaw pain suddenly, the jaw pain, probably all the say tension and so on when you're younger, coming out of you. Some of you will experience the pain of what caused the lack of worthiness for you. Okay. Some of you are just feeling good, got very happy. So if you can, again, and you'll stay this way, by the way, because it's not against psychology. I feel more whole. So again, if you kept that filter behind you where it should be, and then the vision of what humans should be, one, you claim yourself, and then you start, say, healing at a deeper level. Okay. And this is where philanthropy comes in. And this is where helping people come in, because most people get their self-worth by helping people. And that's why I brought it in. Okay. So just to close it all off, and again, we do deeper lectures on this, the details on this, on the lecture series. We just don't have time for this. In fact, I'm going overboard already. So this is where I have low self-worth. I'm going to go help people because that's what religions and society tells me to do. Right. But what you're doing is you're just say, hey, you know what? I have no worthiness. I'm going to give you a lot of money so I feel good about myself. But what I'm exchanging, because there's a physical exchange here happening, what you're exchanging is your lack of self-worth for money. It's like, I'm going to give you money. I'm going to buy self-worth for myself. That's why philanthropy, in that, I'm not saying you shouldn't help people. I'm not saying you shouldn't help, feed the poor and all that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you should do that. Okay. Because nobody should go hungry. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of, say, materials around, right? Resources. But what I am saying is that don't exchange money for your self-worth. Revisit your filter, put your filter back where it should be, and then you give that person money, and you'll see it's like, hey, you know what? You're not supposed to be at the level that you're at. Look at me. I'm running the right frequency of self-worth. The money that you give has, say, currency now. It's not fiat currency anymore. The exchange, the food, the clothing, the toys that you share to an orphanage or whatever that you do, it has your essence or your vibrancy of worthiness because you see where you are, right? And when you do that, you give that person a hand, whatever it might be, money, whatever, knowledge, right? What you're doing is like, wow, I see where that person's coming from. Not only did they help me out in the physical world, but it helps them understand their self-worthiness, and then they get out of that hole. Otherwise, again, it creates a bigger, say, divide, and that's why society is dividing, because of the lack or the ill definition of self-worth. So hopefully that helps you out. Again, there's a lot of, say, science behind it, or a lot of frequencies that go behind it. Okay. If you want to know more about XI, again, we've got the 18 days coming up in September. We've got the personal programming, letting go of other people's shit, especially, if you're that person that you just hold on to people's garbage, right? And that's another pattern, right? If I hold on to more people's garbage, then I'll be worthy. But then you get to the point, it's like, shit, I can't hold on to anybody garbage, anybody's shit anymore. What am I going to do? I'm drowning, right? So that's what the personal programming coming up, other people's shit coming up August 31st. Personal optimization, stabilization is on September 7th, by the way. That is where we'll redefine or we'll reset that filter. Okay, you're going to have time to understand the self-worthiness. By the way, I did do a meditation on on worthiness and so on, so you can take a look at that and play that for you as well. But the personal optimization stabilization is again creating, say, redefinitions or replacing those filters where they should be, and helping you solidify and then helping you heal from that. And then, like I said, the 18 days starts September 8th. If you're new, the 18 days basically you reset pretty much all those filters that have been distorted through genetics and society's patterns. So all those things happen within the 18-day time frame. So that's a lot of change for you. If you're new to XI and you're gung-ho, that's really fantastic. But if you're new, I would take just the essential. Okay, that's powerful enough, especially if you're new. If you're more advanced, if you've done an 18-day in the past, I would do again the accelerated. Again, a lot of you go, well, I've been here before. Not I've done other things. I've done other programs. I've done this and all that. XI is very, very different, guys. Okay, so I would just take the essential. Okay, it's a lot cheaper for you. It'll be better off for you. It'll be better off for the class because I don't wait for anybody. So you just want to take the essential, get your feet new into frequencies, changing your frequencies or changing your dimension of how you render yourself versus psychology. That's the big thing, because most people think, well, I've done a lot in the past. I've done a lot. I've done this. I've done that. I've done, Joe Dispenza. I've done all this, and they're fantastic people. But again, that's psychology. This isn't psychology. This is changing your dimension on how you render yourself in the fourth dimension. Again, space and time. Okay, so that's why I say, even if you think you're a high-level individual, you're new to XI, just take the essential. Okay, and then if you've done at least one or two essential 18 days, you can do the accelerated. And another reason why I'm saying this is because in the accelerated, I don't need to slow down for those people who are new. If that makes sense for you. I don't need to slow the frequencies down, and the accelerated I can take the people on the accelerated a lot higher. Okay. Yes, it's less money for me and so on like that, but it's not about that. It's about changing you. So that's why I suggest, again, if you're new, please, for the sake of my benefit, and then also the group that is worthy of the accelerated, or not worthy, but I shouldn't have used that, but have, say, done the work, okay, and start to understand the frequencies. Then for those individuals, again, I'm not slowing the class down. Okay, so again, if you're new, just take the essential. Okay? It'll be better for you. So anyway, hopefully that helped. So right now, I think we're just going to go straight to the next portion. Oops. Let's turn off this whiteboard. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Turn off the whiteboard. Let's go to Ava. And I'll scan her. I'll pinpoint exactly what's going on with her. I don't think I've ever worked on Ava. I don't know what her experience is, but we'll get into that again. So how much is that worth for you if somebody could tell you exactly what's going on with you like that, without knowing any of your history, without taking, say, a questionnaire summary, but understanding you at a frequency level and going, oh, this is what happened for you. Let's remove that. Not just help you understand it, but then help you remove it. So, and that's where the fantastic changes can come about. And again, this is like worth decades of, say, counseling and so on. Hey, Eva, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
Good.
How are you?
Good. How much XI have you had? What kind of experience have you had with XI?
Well, I'm fairly new. I was
Okay.
introduced to your YouTube channel about a couple of months ago, and I started watching the videos and listening to the podcast and doing some many healings from your earlier podcasts pretty much every day since a month.
Okay. A lot of people do that because once they start nourishing themselves the way they should, they start going, God, I need more, I need more. So that's good. And that's why it's not like you get addicted to XI. It's just that
No.
you're finally getting the nourishment that you need, right? It's
Yes.
like like in today's food, we eat a lot of food, but there's no nourishment in the food. So we just keep eating more and more, and it doesn't help us any. With XI, it's like finally real nourishment, and then you take in as much as you can. And then when you're full, you do it, normally. You don't have to take everything in. Anyway, so if you don't mind, I'll scan you. Okay, I'm not a doctor or anything in any way, and it's okay to share this on public.
Yes, it's okay. Please do
Because
that.
public forum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, we won't get into the deep details of it, but Eva, is it Ava or Eva?
Eva.
Ava. Okay. So Ava, when I see you, I see multiple identities that you have of you. That makes sense to you? You try to
Yes.
please people. So this is, again, I'm going to relate it to self-worth because that's what the talk was. So when you're younger, or when you were younger, back in the day, it's like, if I was like so and so, I'm not going to be as worthy. So what I'll do is I'll try to copy somebody else's pattern so they can love me. Does that make sense to you? You
Yes.
at a very deep level, you redefined what love meant. So for you, love is acceptance by others.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
love is. Again, that's how things get redefined in society. And over time, we believe that, right? It's not about that. Love is, again, is a filter that we'll talk about to redefine it. So what you do is like, I want that person to love me. Say like your father. Is there a grandfather involved? I see another. Did somebody take care of you other than your father or mother? Or I see another person taking care of you.
Mostly my grandparents, my maternal grandparents were
Your
taking
grandparents?
care of me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see your grandparents taking care of you. That's okay. So take a breath in. By the way, if you're running similar patterns to Ava, I'll be working on you as well. Okay. So again, so if you've defined yourself, Ava, and I see a very I want to say there's this strictness or lack of love. There's strictness, but there's lack of love in there as well, if that makes sense for you. So,
Yeah.
so what, as a kid, they have a true definition of what love is, or what connection is, or what parents should be, right? So what happens is that you see yourself and it's like, yeah, they might be providing me with everything physically, but there's no connection. It's just more of a taking care of somebody type feel. So then what you do is like you try to redefine yourself so they can love you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what the hell? Why don't they love me? Why? What am I doing wrong? That, especially your grandfather, or a masculine pattern. Now it could be your grandmother. Your grandmother kind of runs a masculine pattern, or is, say, a hardy type person, so to speak.
Yeah.
So those things kind of confuse me sometimes. But frequency wise, again, it's a masculine pattern. Because most women don't know how to do a strong woman right.
That's the other grandmother.
That's the other grandmother? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So that's another definition which we have to redefine for you as well, Ava. So in your family, to be, say, a strong woman that doesn't get abused or used as, I want to say, back in the day, it's almost like women were used as animals or trade or something to that effect. Does that make sense for you? You weren't valued as women or humans, basically. You're more valued as objects. of design?
Well, I grew up in a communist country, so there was a very different definition of women there.
Okay, so that's got it.
Women had to be very masculine.
Yes. So you lose all that. And as a child, as a young girl growing up, in that, it's like, wait a second, women are running this pattern, but my handbook, my original handbook of what a woman is, again, that filter says it's women are like this, X, Y, and Z. Why are they running like this? And then you force yourself to turn into, say, that type of woman to be accepted, and then to be especially, say, loved by a masculine frequency. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing about it all is, take a deep breath in. Have you gone through a lot of therapy, by the way?
Well, not officially, self-therapy. I read everything I could. Yeah, I read everything. I researched everything. I searched all my life to come to.
Yeah, I just see you, reading a lot of books, or doing everything possible that you can get your handle, like every moment of your life since you were about 18. So the journey started young, 16 or 18, I could be wrong. It's like, God, I know that there's a better version of me that needs to show through, but I can't get to it. So you woke up pretty early, which is really nice,
18.
Yeah, 18. Yeah. What happened? Did you move out or move away, or what happened?
I escaped the communist country.
Got it. Okay. So at that age, it's like, God, there's got to be a better version, and I can be a better version. But what happened is, by 18, a lot of those filters, say, solidified in you. So although you escaped a communist country, where, where those definitions are really messed up, especially like, say, what's happening in North Korea, really messed up shit, guys, which is really sad in today's world. But back to you, Ava. Take a breath in, hon. Just notice your ribs, notice your sternum bone, notice your back. So you escape thinking that you're going to escape and then be a free woman, so to speak. But then the patterns bind you rather than society binding you. Right. So now your real freedom comes, where I can just help you just disconnect all those patterns. You will feel really, say, disoriented in the next few days, because your filters are rearranged. But since you've been searching, and since you've done the work, whether you've gone through a therapist or, again, through self-therapy and so on like that, you have, say, the conditioning, psychological conditioning to go, oh, I understand what's happening to me as I redefine my patterns, and then you'll go through it fine. Okay. Some people who don't have that psychological conditioning, or aren't as, say, hardy as you, you'd probably get, say, messed up and get disoriented a bit more as you get, say, reset. So you're ready. Is it okay for you to just?
Yes.
I'm just going to redefine everything for you, since you're just so ready, and you don't want to waste any more time, basically. There's also a piece of you that's like, oh shit, I'm getting older and I feel time is ticking, and I'm losing more and more of my life. Does that make sense? There's a piece of you that's there as well. Do you have hip problems, or did your grandma have hip problems, by the way?
My mother, I guess.
Okay, your mother? Okay, got it. Your mother probably got it from grandma. Anyway, that pattern or burden is in you as well. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not saying, but as you age, do you have to age like your mom? Because, again, your mom is so entangled in you. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yes. So let's remove that. Your smile, I've never seen your mom, I've never seen you, but when you smile and you just, that look that you have, that's actually your mom's pattern as well. If that makes sense. Yeah. So do you see those patterns? Again, I've never seen you, I've never seen your mom. But frequency wise, I can see down to the detail, down to your smile, or the way you smile, or the way you look up as you smile. That's your mom's pattern that you've inherited at a genetic level. So those things, in a very few short weeks, especially if you're doing the 18 days, Eva, you'll start to see, it's like, oh my God, this is mom, this is mom, this is grandmother, this is grandfather. I don't want any of this. So you get to start to pick and choose how you're going to age. And I know it sounds crazy, but tens of thousands of people wake
Mhm.
up, and you're going to be the one that wakes up really fast. You go, wow, now you're really free. Does that make sense for you?
Yes.
Do you have any questions, specific questions? Oh, well, go ahead, ask questions and I'll wrap up.
Yeah, I can't achieve a financial stability.
Mhm.
It seems like every time I build myself up and I
Yes.
reach a certain stability, and then something happens and I lose everything, and I
Yeah.
have to move usually to another country and then start from scratch.
Start from
And,
scratch. Yep.
and then
So
it's been, yeah.
yes. So that's okay. So I'm glad you asked that question, because that's the 7 identities that I talked about. I said you had multiple type personalities or identities.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this version of me didn't work. I'm going to
Yes.
start over and then start from scratch. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm at the
Or
eighth one.
you're on the 8th one. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So the old versions are still running in you, which
Mm.
hinders the new version, because you're just changing, say, clothes, but we
Mhm.
need to change the whole identity of who you
Mhm.
are. And that's what we just did today, right now for you. And I know some of you go, well, you didn't do anything. Well, I did at a frequency wise for Ava. How do you feel, by the way? How
I
does
feel
she
a lot.
look?
I
Uh,
feel a lot more relaxed.
Yeah. For those people that can say see things, comment in on how Ava looks. So you'll start to see, again, you'll start to not like your body initially. And again, that's a good thing, because you'll start to see, and again, you're a pretty woman and all that, but it's not about, it's because it's not your body, it's your mom's body. Right? You
Mhm.
want to push things away. You've got a beautiful
Yeah.
smile and all that. You won't like your smile. Okay. Because again, it's not your smile, it's
Mhm.
your mother's smile. Right. So what happens is that you'll push that away. And again, the way you smile, very pretty and all that, but you start to remove your mom's presence or essence that's wrapped around that smile. And then you
Mhm.
make that pretty smile your own. And then it's Ava's smile. And
Mhm.
then when you smile, it even has more vibrancy to it. Does that make sense to you? And you
Yeah.
look, people are saying that you look so different. You actually, to me, you look really, really, really feminine now. That woman in you that you've always wanted to be, that you've always wanted to experience, especially like with a deep relationship. Even if you have relationships and even if you have intimacy, you don't feel like you're experiencing it as a woman. You're just experiencing it as I don't know, a person you're just kind of used as a tool in intimacy, so to speak, and it leaves you blank, so to speak. That's because of the definition that was prescribed to you when you were a young girl.
I
In
actually see my face changed.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing, yes.
Yeah, and again, you're beautiful, but you're even more beautiful because your real self comes in, and this is where your face will keep changing. You'll go back to that 18-year-old girl. People will go, "Oh my God, Ava, you look like really young. You look like you're 18." Sometimes you'll act really young as well. Okay, that's because you're going to relive yourself, especially in your 20s. You missed out on your 20s. 20, I don't know if you dated somebody or something, but you kind of lost your mid 20s. You'll go back and reclaim some of the things that you did in your 20s. So, wow, just looking at you, look at yourself, Ava.
Yeah, I can see it. I
You can
see my
just see the
face
changes.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's not psychology, that's not hypnosis. So, if you want to stay in this space, you'll start to observe, again, attitudes, belief systems, and so on like that. And you'll go, I don't want that stuff anymore. And then you get to choose what Ava is or who Ava is. And then the worthiness of you starts to come through you. And then this is where you become a commanding person, not in a negative way, okay, but your culture is a commanding culture. You command that you command your environment to treat you like a powerful, or like a woman, like an XI woman, like a solid woman, the way a woman should be. So you use your culture to do the right thing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You command yourself to have self-respect for yourself, and then your environment including others, to give you self-respect. You command an intimate relationship to be good for you. So I see a lot of, say, power in that. So you use that negative stuff of your culture again to bring you back into what it should be in a really powerful, but again through a feminine version. So really nice job. Okay.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, hon. So come, yeah, if you would journal, and then we'll revisit you in about a month or two, or maybe after the 18 days. Would like to see how. I mean, you've changed so much in the next 18 days. In the next month, you'll see your life very, very different. So, so
Thank you.
congratulations, hon. We'll go to Luke next. Did you guys see how the changes? Again, pretty amazing, right? Again, because it's not psychology, guys. It's literally, I didn't change her psychology. I changed her dimension, or how she saw her filters. And once you change that, her psychology and everything else changes along with it. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Mas. How are you?
I'm doing good. You don't mind if I read you and just share your life with the public here?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
By the way, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. But I'll just tell you what I see. Is there illness or something like that that happens in your family? Or is there somebody ill in your family?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I think
So-
grandparents.
Yeah, got it. Are they like close to death, or that kind of deal, or are
Yeah,
they
I would say my grandma that's still alive is going through like a procedure in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Which could be, could go either way of whatever it is, but
Yeah,
it makes sense.
that's what I'm seeing, by the way. So, we'll work on her. We'll work on her on the side if you don't mind. Um, um, and the importance of that is that, why is it coming off you? Because I'm analyzing you, right? But why am I seeing the first and foremost thing is like, why am I seeing her patterns in you? Which is a big issue for you. It's a huge issue, because when people are in trouble, or especially when people are diseased or ill, you would tend to hold on to them, or they would tend to hold on to you as an anchor. Does that make sense to you? And then for some reason, your life doesn't go the way it should, or for some reason you go, shit, I'm smart enough. I've got the motivation, I've got all this, but why is something holding me back?
Right.
That's basically your whole life pattern. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So without you knowing, your grandmother is actually, like, say, seeking help, because you're a really nice guy. You're really brilliant. Your light is really brilliant. And then what happens is, like, people who are ill, and they could be mentally unstable. I see a lot of mentally unstable people around you, by the way. I don't know if it's a family sometimes it's a family pattern, but you attract people who are emotionally unstable as well. Or emotionally unstable women as well. Does that make sense for you, buddy?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So again, what patterns is it in you that's running, that's allowing that to happen, where basically you're that anchor for a lot of people. And then you're that anchor for a lot of people, and then you try to run with your life, but again, you're getting dragged and you're pulling all these other people unknowing to you. That's pulling your self-worth down, right? Take a breath in, by the way. Do you mind if I help you release that anchor, so you're not carrying the weight of, say, all these people behind you? And that's a huge self-worth issue, by the way, because another pattern for you, self-worth, is that if you don't work your, say, fingers to the bone, whatever success that you have, you won't be worthy of. So say that you start up a $1 billion company, or it turns into a $1 billion company, you would be a great philanthropist, because your self-worth would be shot, because you wouldn't be worthy of the money, so you'd give it away. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
So, because again, you don't, there's at a deeper level, take a breath in, just notice your mid back, right where your ribs connect. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But again, so in your family, if your pattern of, if you don't work yourself to the bone, or if you don't put in a hard day's work, for example, you're not worthy of anything. A desk job would not be worthy, by the way, because you didn't even sweat. You didn't even get your hands dirty, right? So that's a big issue in today's society. Because if you're coming from that, say, value mechanism of doing a hard day's work and you had to get your hands dirty, right, to be worthy, to even eat, right? Because it's like, shit, I did a hard day's work. Now I'm nourishing myself, I got my hands dirty, so on like that. But now you have it. Now many people have desk jobs. You don't get your hands dirty. You don't even get your clothes dirty. You look good coming off work rather than, your clothes are full of mud and all that stuff. So that pattern is heavily in you. And that goes like 1, 2, 3. I want to say 1, 2, 3, like 3 generations back. You probably look like a grandfather or a grandmother or a mess. You look like a male version of your great grandmother, from what I'm saying. So if that makes sense to you. So if you look back in the pictures, and there are there pictures? Yeah. So if you ask around, you'll see, there's a photo album. Yeah, I'm seeing a photo album. You look back, it's like, oh shit, that looks like me, but it's like 3, 4 generations back. So you're basically running the same version, the same software version as that person. Could be female or could be male, but it feels more feminine to me. So a great grandmother or great aunt or something to that effect.
Okay.
So, I say that because you have a feminine frequency to you. That makes sense.
Yeah. What's funny, just not or more. You brought this. I did the 18 days with you. In
Okay.
August.
Mhm.
And you brought up the same exact thing where it was also of, it was a part of having to work my hands to the bone to, get self-worth, and also, like the grandparent feminine frequency, kind of like the mix of, between here and here type thing. So
yes. Okay.
yeah.
Perfect. So I'm glad you said that, because, and that's, I was just going to ask you too about that, is like, you seem from that point of, say, when I scanned you in the past and to where you are now, which is really good, is like you're starting to see at a deeper level how that works in you. Does that make sense? You're starting to say, oh, that's the pattern that I'm running. So you're pulling away from the pattern that you're running. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Which is really good. So in this mini session here, let's distinguish that more or define that more, and then just pull it away for you at a deeper level and separate you. And this is where your freedom again comes through. And this is where your definitions of, say, what work is about comes through. This is where your definitions of what fun about comes through as well. Because you want to have a lot of fun, but then you feel guilty for having fun.
And just to further that point a little bit, is that I just started like my first real job like 6-7 months ago, and it is a desk job, as you said, and definitely get a little bit. I mean, maybe that's part of the reason why you're bringing it up too. But
yes,
I definitely get a little bit of that, where I've in the past, or just I've definitely gotten a lot of self-worth about doing like a really hard day's job, whether it's like cutting down trees or very labor or intensive job where
yes,
there's a little bit less of fulfillment out of like the days that are just kind of mundane and that kind of sense. So
right. So let's remove that again, guys. Back in the day, you had to do a lot of work. You had to do a lot of physical labor, and that was a lot of. But then through the genetics, again, nowadays we all have desk jobs, and we make our living, so that your worthiness again is very incongruent at a deeper level, at a genetic level. So we need to change that in today's society, or you'll never feel worthy of anything. Like Luke here. So take a breath in for you, for you, Luke, and then other people. Again, you've done a great job since the last time, I briefly like scanned you. And actually you're quite lucky that I scanned you again. Take a breath in again, just notice your spine. Something about your spine. I don't know if you had an accident in your spine, your mid back. I just see, I'm not a doctor, but I see a compression in your mid back. Did something happen to you, or
not that I know of, but I know that like my mid to kind of up by like my shoulder blades back part is, generally kind of like tight. There's a lot of knots there.
yeah.
And I've been working of just trying to get it loosened, but I've never really gotten it
Okay.
loose, I guess. I definitely just feel that kind of tightness in my muscles in my back.
Yeah. That's a genetic pattern of, again, this person 3 generations back for you. They had something going on with their back. Again, you're just replicating that for you. Take a breath in. Let's see if we can release that for you. Again, I'm not claiming to cure you or anything like that, but if we can say remove the genetic pattern, so to speak, or the frequency behind it on how you say create yourself, then you start to remove the possibility. And then another possibility shows in where you, as you age, you don't have to have mid to, upper back problems like this person does. That makes sense for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in your, wow, okay. Yeah, in your family, there are like bone or structural type issues, especially of the upper back. It's like you guys have a flat back. There's not that natural curve from the neck. You know how your neck and the back are like that,
Yeah.
from the
Okay.
side? Yeah, you guys over time, and again, it's a genetic pattern. Over time, what happens is the top part of your backs start to just straighten out.
Okay.
And then and then your neck might fall forward, so to speak, again, from what I'm seeing. So the elders in your family straight back, and then, their neck falls forward. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. I'll look back at old pictures and stuff, but
Yeah, look back.
Understand the concept. So
Yeah. So you don't have to have those patterns, by the way. You're still young. So
Yep.
again, you'll start to see patterns like that. It's like, hey, my mom's aging this way, dad's aging this way. I don't need those patterns, or whatever your grandma's going through. Wow, your grandma, not a lot of self-worth there. She's defined herself by religion.
Very much.
A lot of religion there. And it's like, shit, I don't think I'm good enough to meet my maker. So she's scared of dying, which is really sad.
Yeah, and what's funny is I've said those exact words of just what I've noticed in being around her, and as I've seen her age and stuff. I've seen that I said those exact words out of my mouth.
Yep. So take a breath in. There you go. Let's just help your grandma, however she decides to go, to create self-worth for her. So, and again, that sounds kind of strange, but when next time, if you go visit her or you talk to her, I would suggest talking to her, because she'll know, she'll look at you and she'll know that something changed and it was because of you. Yeah. And her definition of worthiness changes, and it makes her more comfortable to decide, whether she wants to stay here, cross over. But again, the issues of, say, religion and self-worth and all that stuff that's in you, all that starts to disconnect, because she's disconnecting from that as well for you. There we go. Just give me 1 second. Do you have any questions, buddy?
No, I think my main point of this scan was to get like a more of a reality check of like what's going on today, because like me myself have been working with you for a while. I actually met you back when I was like 15 in person. Like a like an in-person scan. And yeah, I've been listening to like your podcast ever since it was called EI, Exponential Intelligence.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
that was a while back. So now again, you're releasing, say, the deep layers, because these are very deep layers of your identity. How old are you, by the way?
23.
Okay, so 23. So you're just getting into the workforce and so on. So what's happening for you, again, since you've done all that with XI, is that you're actually starting to see like you're actually putting to practice practice XI. You got your first real job. Now you're starting to see, say, the connection of, like you said, desk job and hard labor. Does that make sense? And then you start to make your choices. You still have to go, like, whatever your parents say gave to you as far as like relationships, patterns, money patterns, and so on like that. You still have to go through those experiences. Again, you're young. You'll have to go through those experiences, and then you go, wow, these are like my parents' patterns. I don't need those. I can release it, and then you just release them. So that's what you're going through, and that's what, again, I'm helping you with. So again, disconnecting you at a very, very deep level, by the way. Your mom and dad obviously feel really good to me. So yeah, so nice job.
Yeah, just to further your last point you made just about growing up and kind of deciding for myself in certain situations, I've definitely noticed that it's been like before I get into the situation of something that I would get into when I was older, like starting my first job or something, I thought I understood, but it wasn't until I got into the situation and like I was there that I was like, oh, this is what it meant. And then I get to decide. I do see like this is how it is, but I can choose whichever path I want to do. But I definitely get that where it's like it's only until I kind of get into the situation that I didn't fully understand before that I thought I did.
Yep.
And get to move past it, delete that pattern, and go on with my life.
That's perfect. Yeah, and again, initially, again, for most kids that are your age, for most young adults that are your age, I would see a lot of problems and stuff, but again, I didn't see a lot, and again, that's just proof of XI. Now, again, what's happening, guys? If you're young and you're doing XI, it doesn't mean that you don't go through the problems of, say, your parents. But what happens is that you get to have the choice, just like Luke. Like it's like you'll have a choice. It's like, do I go my parents' way or do I go this way? This is what should have happened to you, like when you were like, say, from 0 to 14 and so on. So Luke is literally getting a second chance on, say, redesigning his life so it doesn't turn into, say, the parents or great grandparents. So congratulations, my friend. Nice job.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the scan and all the stuff. So
you bet. You bet. All right, guys. So as we end, again, XI is not, say, a magic wand or anything like that, but it does give you, say, the choices, because again, I can't force things upon you. I can only show you, say, a different possibility of who you are here. And then you get to choose. It's like, do I choose my old genetics or do I choose my new genetics? Same thing happened to my kids as well. My relationship patterns, horrendous back in the day. My sons went through it. They cleaned up at, a very tender age of, before their 20s. I cleaned up, in my 50s on relationship patterns that, as I grew and so on like that. A lot of you who are older, obviously, can clean up that way as well. But for the younger people, again, what a fantastic way to start life, isn't it? Just like right off the bat, clean. So, all right, guys. Again, share the channel, guys. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel. A lot of good stuff coming up for you as well. Again, take a look at the calendar that we've got going. And as we end, notice what you notice, and then notice the details of what you're noticing. All right, peace.